What up, y'all? It's your boy here. I'm about to hit you with another shorty real quick. Y'all can see I'm here eating my snowball. It's like 70-something degrees out here, and once it hit the 70s, snowball stands open up. Medium egg custard on deck. But I want to do a quick story about the 1 year that I went to a private school. And this was back, I went to private school my 4th grade year. My mouth is cold, y'all, eating a snowball. From kindergarten through 3rd grade, I went to Malcolm X Elementary School in the city with my cousins. But I actually lived in Woodmore. And the school that I went to, Malcolm X Elementary School, only went up to 3rd grade. So once I was done with that school, my mother decided to pull me away because then we were supposed to start going to Martin Luther King Elementary for 4th and 5th grade. But me and my cousins, we just wreaked havoc up in Malcolm X Elementary School. Got in all kind of trouble. And my mother didn't want me going to school with them anymore. So she put me in a private school. And she put me in what was then called Mark of Excellence. Mark of Excellence Christian Academy, which is now Green Street Academy, which is right there on Hilton Street, not too far down from Emerson Avenue. But back then, I don't know if it's still the same way now as it was then, but that used to be a church, and that church ran a school out of their school building. And so when I started going there, that school, of all my years, elementary, middle, high, and even college, I never did more work at any school than I did at that school. That school worked you. First of all, what they would do, first of all, for me to get to school, because like I said, I lived in Woodmore, but they sent a school bus out there to pick the kids up. So I had to walk. I used to live around the corner of Yattaruba and Hillsmere Road. So I had to walk down the Liberty Road. They sent a school bus to pick me up right on the corner of Essex and Liberty Road. Right in front of where those houses are. Right there on Liberty Road. And on Liberty Road, where Liberty Road and Essex is. Right beside the Foodorama. Well, it used to be Foodorama back then. And I caught the school bus all the way from there, all the way down there to Mark of Excellence, which is on Emerson. Well, not, it's on Hilton Street, but it's like two blocks down from Emerson Avenue. They take that long bus ride, and I wasn't the only one on the bus. They had multiple stops. It probably took an hour to get to school from all the people they had to pick up. They picked up kids from everywhere. So it probably took by the time I got on the bus, it probably was an hour ride. When you get to school, at least when we were there, you would go to your homeroom class, and once the school day started, before we even started doing schoolwork, we had to go down to the sanctuary for praise and worship. We had full-on praise and worship every morning. So we would go down there. It was situated, everybody by their classes. That school was from K through 12th grade. So there's a lot of students there. The pastor of that church, which was at the time Sandy Phillips, she was not only the pastor of the church, she was the principal of the school. And she used to lead praise and worship. And her 2 sons also went there, and they were the musicians. And we had full praise and worship every morning for literally like 30 minutes. like praise and worship. They would have praise and worship and altar call every morning, like you was in church. And so once they got through with that, then we went back to our classrooms and started our work. We had like 10 subjects. I mean, literally, like 10 different subjects that we had to do. You had to buy all your own textbooks. We had a textbook for every period, and you took every subject every day. So you had to have all those textbooks every day. And they worked us. I mean, we worked and worked and worked. I mean, had homework every night. And I'm talking about, I used to do 2 to 3 hours worth of homework every night. I'm talking about, we got out of school at like, I think we got out of school somewhere around, I'm gonna say around 3 or 4 o'clock. We got out of school late. We got out of school, I think we get to be at school at like, might have been like 9 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock. And we got out of school at 3 or 4 o'clock. And so by the time I get home, if we got out, I think it was like 4, we got out of school. I think we was in school from like 9 to 4. And so by the time I get home, it's like 5 o'clock. I would have enough time to come home. And my mother used to make me go straight to doing homework. As soon as I walk in the door, unless she needed me to go to the store or something, I had to do my homework immediately. So I would come home and just immediately start on homework. And I'll be doing homework for like 2 hours, you know, and then by 7:30 we would eat dinner. And sometimes I would have to eat dinner and then go back to doing homework when I got done eating. We had 2 to 3 hours of homework every night. So a lot of times I wouldn't even have like time to play, because like she would make me go to bed like 8, 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you come home, do all this homework, and by the time you get done all the homework and eat dinner, it's time to go to bed. You ain't got time to really watch TV like that. So constant work. They worked you all day long in the classroom, and it led to some, I mean, it's like when we would have like recess, we would have recess like every day. We got like an hour worth of recess, and it just depends on what the weather was. If it was cold outside, we used to go in the gym. And in that building back then, they actually had 2 separate gyms. They had 2 gyms in the building. One was the boys' gym and one was the girls' gym. So all the girls would go to one gym, all the boys would go to one gym. If it was nice outside, we would go outside. And when we went outside, it wasn't no playgrounds or anything like that out there. It was just like this back lot. We would go back there, and they would take out like crates of toys and different type of balls, football, soccer balls, whatever. And we would just, you know, make up games to play, you know, for like an hour. It's almost like a rec yard on a prison. It wasn't even gravel. It was just like literally like a back lot that had no purpose whatsoever. It was just a cement lot, and then there was grass out there. And it's like whenever we would get that kind of free time, we would be like, a lot of kids would be so stressed out from all the work we used to do, that when we would be in on recess, I mean, if somebody did anything to you to upset you, it could turn into like one of the nastiest fights you've ever seen. I've seen people get into fights out there in that back lot, and I've seen a dude pick up a rock on the ground. Like I said, it was just gravel, and some of them busted up rocks. I've seen a dude pick up a busted rock and just clock this dude right in his head, bust his head wide open. And he was fighting over a game. You know? It didn't take much. I mean, we would see, fights out there. People getting assaulted with their toys, to the point where they stopped letting us go outside. because too many fights would kick off, and then people would just use anything as a weapon. And then we would be in the gym, and it would just be, at least if it was a fight, it was just a regular fight. But then you would see the girls getting into it sometimes, because one time, one of the gyms, I think the girls' gym, something happened where they had to close the gym. They had to do some sort of renovation work or something over there. I don't know I forgot what happened to that gym, but they had closed the girls' gym down for like the rest of the year. And so we all had to have gym together in the boys' gym. All the boys and the girls, we all in the same gym. And girls would get to fighting over dudes. Some of the probably the most nastiest fights I've seen that year was actually girls going at it over just anything. Like I said, we were so stressed out from work, all the work that we were doing, that the slightest thing could just turn into the biggest fight. It just be fighting for stupid stuff. And we only in 4th grade, so we 8, 9 years old. So you that age, you fight over dumb stuff anyway. But it was some volatile fights for kids, you know what I'm saying? So, and I said to myself, when I left that school, I only went there 4th grade, and my mother couldn't afford to keep sending me there because you had to pay a hefty tuition to go to that school. And between tuition and all the books you had to buy, everything they gave you had to buy it. She pulled me out of there after 4th grade was over and sent me to my zone school, which was Woodmore Elementary School in 5th grade. But I always said to myself, I would never send my child to no school like that. I mean, they're going to keep you busy. You're going to get there, you're going to work. And my mother made me work. You know what I'm saying? I hardly had no playtime. I couldn't wait till like vacations would come. It'd be like spring break, winter break. One good thing about that school was that like winter break was long. Like winter break was like, we would go to school like the 2nd week in December, and that would be like the last week. And then we wouldn't come back until like the 2nd week in January. Our winter break was like a month, like a whole month off of winter break. And then spring break was like 2 weeks. We was off like the week before Easter and the week after Easter. So we had like 2 weeks off. We needed that because they worked you. I mean, we worked from the entire time we in there. If it ain't lunch or recess, you working. And it's like non-stop work. Work. They did not tolerate playing. They didn't tolerate talking. They didn't tolerate none of that. You had to work. And I said I would never send my child to no school like that. It was almost military style. And they had them lunches. Like the cafeteria in that school was up on one of the upper levels. It wasn't downstairs. It was like on it might have been the top floor of the building where the cafeteria was. And they didn't even have like the lunches that public schools have. Like they didn't even serve hot food. You had to basically bring your own lunch. Only thing you could buy from them was like snacks. Like you could buy snacks from their cafeteria, but you wasn't, or like cold cuts. I think they sold in there, but that was it. You had to basically bring your own lunch, which is what I did every day. And I didn't even buy the snacks out of there. My mother gave me everything in my lunch bag. That was even when I went to college, man, I didn't work that hard in college. Is you worked all day in school, then you had to come home and just work for 2 or 3 hours worth of homework. It was just, that school was so stressful, and my grades were good there. And if my mother could have afforded it, she would have left me in that place probably all the way through graduation of high school. But I'm glad she didn't. That school would make you want to drop out. That school was a good school for academics, but it just they would stress you out. And like I said, when they let you loose, when they came down to recess or whatever, you get to relax. We go to gym. Fight could break out over something simple. This kid's so stressed out that the slightest irritation, all that frustration from all the work we was doing, it all built up. And so somebody ended up getting beat up, not even necessarily because of what was done to them, but because just a stress reliever. They're gonna take their frustration and stress levels out on you, all because of something stupid, because you hit them with a ball, or because you knocked a piece off the board in a Monopoly game, or something simple. Could turn into just the biggest beef. Girls getting into over the simplest stuff. It was crazy up there. I don't know how it is now, but it's Green Street Academy now. I'm not even sure if the church is still there. I don't know how that building runs now. This is when I was there. This is back in the mid to late 80s when I was there. So it's 40 years ago. So I don't know. I know it's Green Street Academy, the school. I don't know if a church still uses it or not. But boy, that was some hard work, man. Stressful. I just wanted to hit y'all up with that one. It's the only year that I went there. Only year I went to a private school. It was Market Excellence Christian Academy back then. It's called it MECA. MECA was the acronym. It was MECA, Market Excellence Christian Academy. I forget what the church's name was. I know it was Pastor Sandy Phillips. I don't know if it was a Faith Christian Center. Might have been Faith Christian Center, something like that. What the name of the church was. I know the pastor was Pastor Sandy Phillips. And she got married. I think she's Sandy Phillips Hayden now or something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah. My 1 year, 4th grade at MECA, Market Excellence Christian Academy, now known as Green Street Academy. Stressful, man. Stressful. All right, I'm out.